What's good, YouTube? It's your boy on the Gamer back with another banger. Let me tell you about the time that I experienced the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. The worst pain I ever felt in my life. But this is going to be 1A. There's another time that was pretty rough too. But this is 1A. Come back with me about 4 to 6 years ago. 4 to 6 years ago. I was at work, normal day, not doing anything out of the ordinary. I think, for example, I was over finding a way for us to spend some funds that we got from a particular grant, not necessarily a grant, but it had to be spent on extracurricular activities inside of the school. And so I was looking for various ways for us to spend it and be in alignment with the guidelines of the State Department. Just a regular day, right? Just a regular day. Well, I had spent a lot of the morning. What started things, I actually had my rounds. I went around to some teachers' classes and made sure everybody was okay, checked to see if they needed anything, whatever the case was. After that, I began to work on what I just told you about. Then lunch rolled around. Well, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. We were having that day at the school chicken fried steak. However, we also used to have a guy that used to make rounds at school, and he had a habit of coming in. He was a barbecue man. That's what I used to call him. I used to call him the barbecue man. He used to come in and he would get various orders, and he had a grill on the back of his truck. So he would literally barbecue and bring you your food made to order wherever you are. And it was amazing. Like, dude had tremendous skills on the grill. Well, I wanted to barbecue that day. I remember what I ate that day. I had the Polish sausage. I had a Polish sausage. He used to make it look real good. You know, he put onions and bell peppers and all that kind of good stuff, and barbecue sauce and cheese, and had it stinking just real good, like real nice. So I had the Polish sausage and I had a bag of Doritos. I think I drank a Mellow Yellow that day. I drank a Mellow Yellow. Well, lunch was great. I was one of the people that learned you always treat people with respect. You treat them kindly regardless of their position in the organization, right? So I used to go, if I didn't eat in the cafeteria, I would at least go through the cafeteria every single day to speak to the lovely women in the cafeteria, tell them ask them how they're doing, speak to them, ask them how their families are doing, etc. This particular day, I didn't go into the cafeteria aside from when I went in that morning. Well, initially when school started. So when lunch came, I didn't go because I already knew what I was going to eat. Well, lunch got here, and one of the ladies came to my office and she said, "Well, yeah, what were you today? I saved you a plate." Well, I was going to do the move that I usually do. You know, thank you, appreciate that. You know, put it to the side, take it home, eat it later on, whatever the case was. I didn't have this opportunity today. That day in particular, she decided that she was going to sit and talk and ask questions about how the food tasted. I'm from the South, and I'm a big guy. It is, what's the word I can say? It is very disrespectful for you to turn down food when you're usually getting food from one place. It's also very disrespectful to say, hey, I already ate. Because she thought enough of you to sit you some food to the side. So, you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, I just ate, but I gotta eat this. So, I did. So, I ate, and I ate, and I ate, and ate, and ate. I didn't stuff myself, though. I made sure that I was like, oh, this is so good. I want to save some for later. I want to save some for when I go home. And so I didn't eat that much of it. I didn't eat that much of it. So I decided to wait, and I was like, all right, good. I'm done with that. Well, she left my office, and about an hour or so later, I broke into a really bad sweat. It was really bad. Like, I sweat through my clothes bad. Like, I had to go home and change clothes. I actually left work early that day. And the feeling that came over me was just horrible. And I recall it because I had never experienced anything like that before in my life. But I had a meeting that evening at 6 that I couldn't miss. This meeting was extremely important. It was at a local restaurant here, and it actually was supposed to be eating and everything. So I laid down. I'm feeling bad. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I got a headache. I'm sluggish. I'm sweating. I don't know what to do. I've never experienced something like this a day in my life. But it's whatever. I'm gonna just drink some water, take a nap, wake up, and go to the meeting, and I'll be fine. So I'm drinking water, trying to get this sweat to stop coming and all that kind of good stuff. The next thing I know, my stomach starts to expand, like, really badly. And it's to the point where I'm having to hold it as I walk. It's heavy. I'm like, what is going on? But again, whatever. I'm gonna be fine. So I take a nap, I wake up, and I go to the meeting at 6. It's about 5 minutes away from my house. I get there, and the first thing my homeboy tells me, he's like, bro, you don't look good. It's like, and with our relationship, I think I may have said something like your mama. I said something crazy to him, right? But I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good at all either. But I stayed for the meeting, and everybody else was eating, and I was like, I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry. And the lady came, took my order, and I was like, just give me a water. Just give me a water. And my homeboy was like, bro, if you ain't got the money, man, I got you. I was like, I'm not hungry. No, as a matter of fact, give me a Sprite. Let me have a Sprite. Sprite is a remedy for you. You know what I'm saying? You drink a Sprite, you good. I think I had 2 Sprites and like a cup of water. And I was like, I'm ready to go. I gotta go. So I go home, and the symptoms get worse. The symptoms get a lot worse. I am now sweating. My stomach is extremely heavy. My reproductive member is like in a ton of pain. My testicles are swollen and hurting. My vision is even going bad at this point. Like I'm in a ton of pain. And now when it's time, I try to, because my remedy is to take a nap, and when I wake up, it'll be better. That's how I get better. I try not to take meds. I took meds that day because I had never experienced anything like that before. I lay down and I try to lay on my stomach, and that's a no-go. That's not happening. So I try to lay on my back, and that's a no-go. So I'm like, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm sick. I'm really sick. So I wake up. I couldn't sleep at all much. I couldn't sleep much at all that night. And so I'm trying to just do what I need to do to make it through. You know, trying to do what I need to do just to make it through. So I woke up that morning, and the pain was intensified. It was like exponentially worse. So I'm like, oh, my stomach. But I'm at home alone. I'm not telling anybody what's going on, because I'm the kind of person that if I don't claim it, it's not real. Fight through it. Let's go. But I couldn't fight through this. I couldn't fight through it. So I laid there. I laid in bed. One day passed. I called into work. The second day passed. I called into work. The third day, the second day that as it's passing, I called my mom and I described my symptoms to her. She said, I ain't never heard of nothing like that. That sounds pretty bad. We need to go to the hospital. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I ain't going to no hospital. It ain't that bad, right? So my mom and I have a relationship where she already knows if I ever ask to go to the hospital or to the doctor, I'm real sick. I'm past where I should have been. I should have gone to the doctor a long time ago if I ever asked to go to the doctor. So the next day comes, my mom goes to work. I'm still at the house by myself. I'm not talking to anybody about anything. I'm suffering in silence. I called a coworker because I had gone fishing the day before everything started. And I had fish sitting on ice. And I remembered I didn't want them to stink. And so I called her and I said, hey, I have some fish out in a cooler outside. If you could go, if you come and pick them up, you can have them. And the reason I did this was because I knew that this was bad. I knew it was horrible. I knew something was about to happen that, I don't know. But I also felt like I was about to die. Like I literally felt like if I didn't make my mind up to do something quickly, life was about to end for me, because I had never experienced this. The only walking I was doing was to the restroom and back, and I have a master bedroom, so there's a bathroom adjacent to my bedroom, so I didn't have to walk very far. But I brought up the fish to let you know about me having to walk from my bedroom to the front of the house, and it took everything in me. I was literally holding my stomach with both arms, trying not to stumble. This was the worst pain I had ever experienced. And that walk to take those fish and sit them outside of my garage so the lady could come and get them for her and her husband let me know this ain't normal. This ain't going away with a nap. I need to go to the hospital. So day 3, I call my folks. I call my mom and say, hey, what you doing? And she like, nothing, just got off work. I say, I think I need to go to the hospital. Remember, we have the relationship where she already knows if I'm asking for help, I should have asked for help a long time ago, right? So she rushes over to pick me up, and when she sees me, her eyes get like half out. My mom is like the worst person in the world when it comes to hiding her emotions. You gonna know exactly how she feels, right? That's just who she is. That's how she does it. So when she saw me, her eyes lit up, like, and I was like, oh, I look pretty bad. The first thing I thought, like, man, do I stink? I started smelling myself, but she was way away, so she couldn't have smelled me. But I knew I was going to the hospital, so I tried to get a little clean before I went, because there was no telling what I was about to endure. So she comes and she drives. It's another indication that I'm pretty sick. I'm pretty sick. My mama doesn't drive anywhere, especially if there's an option for me to do it. So she drove me to the hospital, and I get there, and they start taking X-rays, and the doctor comes out and he says, "You have diverticulitis." I said, "What? What's that? Who is that? Well, like, what is a diverticulitis?" He says, "You have tears in your intestine/colon. Yours are pretty severe." He said, "Honestly, we're going to have to keep you for a while." I'm like, "What's a while?" He said, we're looking at a week." And I'm like, "Okay. But I got to get back to work because I got some stuff that I'm working on, right?" He didn't care about any of that. He was like, "Sir, this is life-threatening as bad as yours is." So, okay. So I started Googling, which is the worst thing in the world to do. I started Googling diverticulitis. And I find out all these various remedies and all that kind of stuff. And I was told that I couldn't go home until I was able to use the restroom on my own, have a bowel movement on my own. Because what happens with diverticulitis, or what happened in my case, was your organs shut down because those tears are starting to allow various things to seep out of them. And as a defense mechanism, your intestines and things will shut down to keep you from causing more harm to yourself. So I couldn't pass anything. I couldn't use the restroom. My stomach was literally a storage facility. That's why everything was storing up in me. I couldn't use the restroom or anything. So they had me on these fluids so I wouldn't dehydrate. I was on IV and all that good stuff. Well, that was the first doctor that I ran into. The next day, another doctor comes, and I get X-rayed again by him. And the first thing out of his mouth was, "You have to have surgery. Like, there's no way that's going to heal. You have to have surgery. And we're looking at giving you surgery this weekend." I looked at him. I said, "But that's not what the first doctor told me, because I ain't want to have another surgery. Like, I'm like, whatever. I don't want to get cut off." So at this point, I'm scared. I'm praying. All I'm doing is praying. But the funny part, I called my homeboy and told him about it, and he was like, "Man, I knew something was wrong." Called my other homeboy. He stayed not too far from the hospital. This is the homeboy that has been there for me through thick and thin, right? This is my guy. We rock out together. Cool dude. So he brings me a care package. Now, mind you, I've laid it out and told him exactly what's going on. He brings me a care package to the hospital. Just to tell you how this friend is, he sneaks into the hospital like he wasn't even supposed to be there. The hospital was closed. Like, it was closed for visitors at that point. I don't know how he got up to that floor. He snuck in the hospital, for one. For two, this care package was hilarious. He brings me some adult magazines. Tells me, like, "Hey man, you still a man, ain't you? You need this." And I'm I'm laughing at him like, "Bro, you crazy." But that's my guy. That's the relationship that we have. We that's my dude. Got to give him a call, as a matter of fact. Anyway, but I'm not able to use the restroom after a day. Not able to use the restroom after 2 days. Not able to use the restroom after 3 days. 4 days. And I never forget it. There was a lady that I grew up with her daughter. Her daughter was actually my first girlfriend in the neighborhood. And she came to my room to check on me, and she said, they're looking at you. You're probably going to need a colostomy bag. I'm like, a colostomy bag? I work in education. I would never hear the end of that from these kids. Well, she's like, yeah, but you know, a lot of people are wearing that. It's all kind of designer colostomy bags that people are wearing now. And I'm like, it's a colostomy bag. I'm not ready for that. These kids they would never stop checking me. Forever, I will be known as that guy, right? And I'm not saying anything is wrong with a colostomy bag for those people who actually have to experience that. But I was just looking at it from my perspective and where I worked. I knew that these students have no filter. First time you make them upset, that's the first thing they bring it up, right? So I wanted to avoid that. Well, the original doctor comes back. And I tell him that, hey, they're looking at me to give me a colostomy bag, man. Why didn't you tell me this at the beginning? And he looks at me and said, what? You need a colostomy bag? And I'm trying to speak with an accent, but I'm telling you that God works in mysterious ways, okay? I had never met this doctor before a day in my life. But I had a previous ACT boot camp here in town. And his son was a prodigy, brilliant young man. And he actually worked with me at the camp. He was too young to actually be there, but he came to the camp anyway. And so what happened was I built a really good rapport with the young man, his brother, even his mom. And it worked out to where that relationship made that doctor go that extra mile with me, I believe. I don't know if he would have done it anyway, but when I saw his last name, which is a very uncommon last name, I said, do you know this person? He said, yeah, that's my son. And we began to talk about him, and I really believe that relationship that I had formed with his son helped in my situation, because this doctor could have easily been like, yeah, you about to go out of this knife. But he said, now listen, I'm going to give you a different IV. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt coming in, but it's going to help you tremendously. And you'll probably be able to use the restroom and be fine. He said, the problem is we got to get these tears to heal, and you have some pretty severe ones. I said, yeah, okay, let's try that before we just agree to have surgery, right? Well, he gives me this IV, and it's like a greenish something. It was thick. Like, this bag was heavy. It was thick, and when they put the IV in, I literally felt it coming in. It felt like something off a science movie where they are creating a monster or something. Like, it was thick. But it worked. It did the trick. I was actually able to use the restroom, right? So I called my folks, I called everybody. I'm excited. Hey, I used the bathroom. I'm like, so? Nasty, right? Well, the next morning I go down to X-ray, and they're looking at me like, is this you? Yeah, what's going on? Because previously they had to wheel me down for X-ray. They had to wheel me down every morning for X-ray. This morning I woke up and I walked to X-ray. I'm like, I don't need no wheelchair. I'm good. Let's go. I said, I've been in this bed too long anyway. So I walked to X-ray, and I felt amazing. Those same people who were giving me X-rays every day were also the same people looking at me like, what's going on? So this was a Friday night, right? I felt great. I thought I was going home the next day. I felt that good. Thought I was going home the next day. But I didn't. I wasn't able to go home. I had to be released by the doctor who told me that I was going to actually have to have surgery. I was actually going to have to get a colostomy bag. So now my appetite's back. Man, I'm hungry. Y'all been giving me fluids. I want something to eat. So they brought some Jello, and of course I ran through that. I'm like, come on, I need something real. And so they brought me some chicken noodle soup, and I ate that. I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Well, they're calling my doctor, and he's like, he's not going anywhere. We're prepping him for surgery on next week. He's not going anywhere. I never forget this because it was on Mother's Day. It was on Mother's Day. My doctor had actually gone out of town, he said, to be with his mother. And he said, I had to come back and look at this myself. He said, I've never in all my years experienced anything like this. He said, now he's telling me this in front of my mom. He's like, whomever you are serving, you need to continue to do that, because this is nothing short of a miracle. That my intestines had healed. My intestines had healed. There was looking at it from their perspective and my perspective. I prayed long and hard, a long time in that hospital, and it just wasn't time for that to happen for me. It wasn't time for that to happen for me. So I may not believe it, but I wholeheartedly believe that God had a healing hand on that. It wasn't time for me to go under the knife for that. Now, it was an amazing experience, and it was the worst pain I ever felt in my life. But I truly believe that I had that test to get a testimony. So I'm sharing that with everybody, letting everybody know, while it was the worst pain I've experienced in my life, I knew somebody who was bigger than that. So, that being said, diverticulitis is nothing to play with. Like, diverticulitis will take you out of here if you aren't careful. If you know anybody suffering from diverticulitis and they ever tell you that they're having an attack, it's real. Diverticulitis will have you in the floor. If you know someone with diverticulitis, I know some things that triggered me. Today, even I don't eat peanuts. I don't eat almonds. I don't eat sunflower seeds. I don't eat popcorn. I don't eat sesame seeds on hamburger buns. I don't eat a variety of things that could actually get into those tears and cause me harm. I stay away from them. But if I slip up and I can't eat Snickers. Snickers were my favorite candy. I can't eat them. And it's a small price to pay for being past that, But I still get reminders that when I'm hard-headed, and I remember I had the Impossible Whopper, and I think I had it 2 days in a row, just doing too much, and those sesame seeds whooped me, like in the floor crying. I was hurting. But yeah, if you know anybody who is suffering from diverticulitis, it's real. It's the real deal. It's painful. It's painful. It hurts you so bad that you wish that you could probably just pass out from it. It's really bad. It's really bad. But with that being said, that's the worst pain I ever experienced in my life. Worst pain I ever experienced in my life. Well, that's 1A. I may do 1B. But thank you for rocking out with your boy. Thank you for taking this time out to watch this video. No further ado.